Hi, and welcome to How to Get Started Collecting Comics and Pop Culture Art. Today I'm going to be talking about what this type of art collecting is. I'm going to be talking about what types of art you can collect, and I'm going to talk about where to find the art. Hi, my name is Luis Escobar. I'm a storyboard artist on the Simpsons television show. I've been working on the show for over 20 years now. Okay, so let's talk about what kind of art this is. So say you want to start collecting art, and but you want to collect specific art. You want to collect stuff that you've seen in your favorite comic books. You want to collect art that reminds you of your favorite movies, science fiction movies like Aliens and The Hobbit, or books like The Hobbit or Harry Potter. Things like that. That's the kind of art that you're really interested in. And this is the kind of art that I mean when I'm talking about pop culture art. So we're just talking about this sort of thing. And I'm talking about originals here. The original pages of your comics. Art from your very favorite comic book artist or illustrator, maybe even concept artist. This sort of thing. This is what we're going to be honing in on. This is what I mean by comic book and pop culture art. And the reason I put these things together, more often than not, these things are found together. So a comic book illustration, the picture of Spider-Man is often found together with an illustration of The Hobbit or Aliens or something like that. Jedi, Star Wars, all this stuff tends to cross-pollinate and tend to kind of hang out in the same areas. So that's why I'm talking about this. There's different ways to collect art in this area. So let's start with sculptures and maquettes. Sculptures and maquettes tend to be very physical objects of art. For example, here, let me show you. For example, something like this, where you've got, Harley Quinn, and she's all sculpted out, and this is like a Bruce Timm kind of Harley Quinn. All right, so this is one type that you can collect. This is the kind of thing I'm talking about. And in the bottom, usually there is how many there are, and they're kind of limited edition. Okay, or you can get something like this. You can get something like this, which is another maquette. Here's a Hellboy, and it's absolutely gorgeous. It's just like this amazing sculpture. So this is the kind of thing that you could also collect. Another thing you can collect is original comic book pages. Usually they come in Bristol board in some way. If you have a favorite comic book or artist or whatever, you could actually collect the actual original pages from that comic. So I'll show you where to get that later. Another thing you can collect is original art. Usually directly from the artist. You on Bristol or in any other medium that they tend to work off of. This come in all kinds of different shapes and sizes. Original art is another thing you can collect. Sketch covers. Sketch covers are very unique because sketch covers are basically when you're in fact buying blank covers like this, and what happens is that an artist then draws. You actually you ask the artist to draw on the cover, or you buy the art already on the cover directly from the artist. So that's another thing that you can collect. And the interesting thing about that is that you're getting a one-of-a-kind comic book. It's a published comic. It's a published comic from DC and Marvel or whoever's publishing it. But the cover is going to be unique to you because it's original. It's got original art on it. Another thing you can do is collect sketch cards. Sketch cards are very, very similar to sketch covers. Sketch cards come in either in packs, or you could buy directly from the artist, or there's special websites there too that let you collect or get these cards. And what they are is they're just collectible cards, but they're blank, similar to the sketch covers, and the artist just draws an original piece of work there. Another thing that you can collect is hand-drawn stickers or postcards. I'm putting these kind of clumped together because this is one of the rarest things that you can find. Very few artists actually do this, but if you could find them and have them do it, or maybe you can go and collect your own. Basically, what you do is you can get sticker paper, or you can get like badges, that sort of thing, and they're blank. So you just have an artist draw something original there. Now you've got a unique hand-drawn sticker. Or postcard, which is the same thing. You get a blank postcard and then you have the artist draw on the postcard. Now here's something unique that I've seen done quite a bit by quite a few people, and that is original art in a themed sketchbook. So what it is the collector tends to buy a blank sketchbook, and what they do is that they take it to conventions or wherever artists are signing or doing something, and it's kind of like an evolved version of an autograph book. So what you do is you either have them draw there something original within the sketchbook, or depending on how elaborate or the type of artist they are, they can take it home if you trust them enough, and they work and they do like a really fancy, full-on finished drawing in the sketchbook. So by the time you're done with that book, you've got this amazing book full of amazing art, and sometimes it's themed. So you ask everybody who is drawing in the sketchbook to draw on a specific theme. So yeah, I've seen that quite a bit. So that's another thing you can do, is collect, I guess, illustrated signatures in the way. It's a very, very cool way to collect art. The only drawback I would say is that depends on the artist. They may not get back to you for a long time. All right, so that's another thing you can do. Limited edition prints. Limited edition prints are very common. That's another thing you can collect. Usually they have a number and in the back, and they just do the one print run of that thing, and it's very limited, and that's it. And so you get one copy of this unique print that this artist has published. And another thing you can collect is prints and posters. These are not limited edition. These are just prints and posters. This is the most common because this is what artists tend to bring to shows most, and what they tend to sell through their websites most is prints and posters. Basically, they do a run of copies of an illustration that they've done, and they sell it through their site. And these things are usually signed and framed, and they're unlimited. As long as the artist is selling them, they'll keep on selling them. So and this is probably a good way to start. They're fairly inexpensive and they're easier to get, and it's a good way to go, and it's a good way to get started and used to this sort of thing. Okay, so where can you find this art? There's a ton of places you can go. I'm going to list off a lot of things, but if you want a definitive list, a full list of links to all the stuff that I'm going to be talking about here, I highly recommend you go and click on the link in the description of this video. There is a post, an article that goes along with this video where I link to everything. I basically wrote down everything I've spoken about here in this video, but all the links to all these places that I'm going to recommend are on that post. So if you want to get all that information, I highly recommend to click on that link. All right, so the first place that you can go to find this stuff is at Comic Cons, pop culture events, expos, this sort of thing. Star Trek conventions, WonderCon, San Diego Comic-Con, New York Comic-Con, Anime Expo, that sort of thing. This is where you're going to find artists selling their wares. You could get everything there. You could find the maquettes there. You could find the original art, the comic book pages, all that stuff. It's basically all there. Okay. And more. You know, you can find shirts and toys and things like that. Another thing, another place you can go is collector sites. Collector sites where are basically just websites where these in particular forms of art are specifically catered to, talked about, and sold. There are a ton of comic book pages, websites where you can buy comic book art and find art from your favorite comic book artist, even if it's not directly from a particular comic. There's also websites where you could buy sketch cards. There's communities where trading and selling occurs. And there are, you know, a website like Sideshow Collectables where you can buy the maquettes and things like that. Another place you can go to get all this stuff is eBay. eBay's got all this stuff also. You have to do a lot of searching. You have to, but you could find all that stuff there. Even I sell in eBay my stuff on occasion. And it's also a good place to find inexpensive versions of the art, because what happens is that sometimes people don't, the artist doesn't do a good enough job promoting the artwork, and you could actually get not a whole lot of competition for the artwork. Another good place to go is social media. Now, you can't directly buy anything from an artist in social media, but what you can do is you could follow them, seeing if anything new, if they're coming up with anything new. Usually an artist tells the social media followers first about where new they can get their artwork and new original artwork is up. That's a good place to also get a hold of the artist and communicate with the artist and ask them for commissions. There are Facebook groups of collectors, and these Facebook groups are actually a really good place to also go, because if the Facebook group allows artists to post new work that they're selling, it's perfect, because it's a marriage of both the collectors and the artists that are making artwork to collect. So those seek out groups of collectors of the type of art you want to start buying. Another good place to go is DeviantArt. DeviantArt is basically a type of social media website, except it's there specifically for artists to post and show off their work. So you could see their work and follow them, and whenever they have a new piece of work, you could see it on your timeline. But it is also a good place to find artists to commission. And also, the interesting thing about that website is that when you're following a specific art or a character, there are links all over the website that also, if you like this, you may like this artist too, that sort of thing. So there's a lot of cross-pollinating. It's very good for discovering artists that you didn't know were you would have liked, that sort of thing. And of course, personal websites. Personal websites is, you know, where the artist is their website, and if they're smart and entrepreneurial enough, the artist will sell their art through their site. Usually they are part of another kind of a selling website that allows them to link to their shop through their website. Some artists like myself, I actually have their own shopping cart and all this other stuff. And I sell directly on my site. But that sort of thing. So I provide links later in the article of a few artists who I really admire who have shops. And finally, Patreon. Patreon is a website where you basically become a patron of the arts. You become you follow an artist, you find an artist that you love, and you become their patron by financially supporting them to create the art that you want them to create so that you can then maybe purchase it. So, I mean, most artists start at $1 a month, that sort of thing, or $1 a piece of work. So what you're basically doing is you're supporting them, trying to give them an opportunity to create so that you can then maybe purchase some of the art. But here's the thing. This kind of system, Patreon, what it does is there's like a tiered system similar to Kickstarter where depending on your support, you get a type of reward from the artist. Most of the time, these things are downloadable content. Sometimes it's videos, things like that. But mostly it's downloadable things that, especially like high-res JPEGs or PSD files that you can print on canvas and yourself and have a high-res, beautiful, you know, like you've got control over the media you want to have this thing printed on. So, because they give you a high-res version of the art. On the other hand, like myself, sometimes if some artists actually do giveaways, and for in my website, I do giveaways every month for all my patrons, no matter what tier level you're supporting me. If you're my patron, you're going to be put in a monthly drawing where you could win an original piece of art that I will send to you as a postcard via mail. And that's another way that you can get original art from an artist, is if they offer it in Patreon. So what do you need to do now from now on? Well, now you just have to decide what kind of art you're going to want to collect. If you want to get a refresher and want to just like really just sit down and think about what you want, and you want to review what I just said, you can go to the article that is companion to this video. If you think I missed something, please comment below, and I'll see if I can't make some kind of amendment to the article. And probably not the video, because I already recorded, but in the article I could probably add a little bit more information, things like that. If you found this video valuable, I would like to encourage you to return value for value by becoming one of my patrons over on Patreon. Not only will you encourage me to continue making informative videos that are useful to you, but you get extra perks too. For only a small investment of $1 a month, you can get all new videos I create months before anyone else gets to see it. Also, if you have any questions you'd like me to answer as a patron, you get priority and I answer your questions first. On top of that, when you're a patron at any level, you become part of a raffle where I send original art via mail to the winner of that month. The higher your tier, the better your opportunity to win. Higher tier patrons also get access to any art I do in high-res JPEGs, and also full access to PSD files to any work I do, including the PSD files of these videos. Currently, there's a huge backlog of downloadable files you can get, so right away you're going to get quite a lot of bang for your buck. And the more patrons I get, the better these videos will get. The more content I can produce, in other words, the more you benefit. Please consider becoming a patron. Thanks. The link to my Patreon is on the screen and in the description of this video. Okay, so I hope you found this helpful, and I'll see you next time. All right, and bye.